Welcome to today's Global Connections program. I'm Bill Miller. Today, we're going to be talking about the importance of international assistance. My guest today is an expert on this topic. Mr. Mark Wentling is an international development and humanitarian assistance specialist with over 40 years of relevant experience. He attended the United States National War College and the International Strategic Studies Program for selected senior members of the U.S. Armed Services, as well as the civilian foreign service agencies. Mark Wentling, welcome to today's Global Connections program.
Well, thank you. I'm glad to be here.
I appreciate you being with me, Mark. We're going to dive right into it. How do you define international assistance? What exactly is that?
Well, you have to divide it into two sections. There's development assistance and humanitarian assistance. And what I want to talk about is humanitarian. That's providing food, nutrition, health services to the poor people overseas. And that's something we've done since World War II. I I have my own views on how to reform that assistance program, but now that assistance program doesn't exist anymore. And it's certainly linked with our foreign policy objectives in every country.
Mhm.
And those objectives are, I don't know how they achieve them without foreign assistance.
That's a very good question, and the answer is they don't. That is exactly what the experts are
Yeah,
saying.
well,
They don't
most
achieve
of my
them.
experience has been in Africa, and
It's
most of the Africa I knew has
yeah,
been cut off.
true.
Well,
Yeah, but you're right. Foreign assistance ties right into our foreign policy goals, and you're referencing now the elimination, Trump administration elimination of the U.S. Agency for International Development, which was one of our best agencies as far as exerting soft power, making friends for the United States, developing resources not only for our business community, our Kansas and Kentucky farmers, but a variety of other folks who benefited from this, and it was at a very low cost. It's been reported that USAID, the total budget was 0.2% of our budget. That's like 2 cents on $100. How is that not a good investment, no matter how you slice it?
I think it's a good investment. Oh, I was recently in my home state of Kansas, and farmers there are crying because they don't have the markets. And more importantly for me is that the children and lactating mothers are crying in Africa because they no longer receive the food assistance. They no longer receive the health assistance. You know, it puts America as a country in a very poor light. And it just depresses me.
Yeah. Well,
I,
you're right. The polls show that our popularity, which 2 years ago was in the 80s, 70s, and 80s, is now plummeted down into the 20s. A large portion of the world, I'm going to say the majority of the world, has a very dismal approach to America and is considering America as a failure in many areas, and this is certainly one of them. This USAID program that was basically dismantled I won't say in the middle of the night, but in a stealthy sort of way, was
very
just dismantled.
rapidly and eviscerated. And it
Exactly.
was,
Well, why, if I'm all in favor of improving government efficiency and being more productive and be more effective. But why would you destroy a program and then come back and say, well, we're going to retool it. We're going to reevaluate it. That's like you and I buy a business, we close the door, fire everybody, and then we say, oh, now I think we'll figure out what's wrong.
uh-oh.
Illogical, I'd say.
I have a lot of thoughts on that subject. I think They went after USAID first and rapidly because it was an easy target.
Mhm.
Nobody, what constituency do we have in the United States? Nothing, except maybe some farmers or some isolated, but in general, the American population doesn't know what USAID does. Uh, Even though it costs much less than 1% of the federal budget annually, it probably costs more to get rid of it, tragically, and killed more people, tragically, overseas uh, than they saved in terms of, they said, waste, fraud, etc.
Mhm.
Uh, Maybe there was, but you don't come in with a chainsaw and dismantle, eviscerate an agency that was set up by Congress so rapidly, overnight.
Exactly. You're absolutely right. And this, USAID in the past has been complimented for many of its humanitarian outreach programs and being effective. And it's also one of a better run programs, not as efficient as Social Security or Medicare, but it still is very, very effective for the amount of money that is being spent. And do you feel that the American public does not have the information? I know I use this statistic with the University of Maryland. They said they did a poll years ago that the majority of the Americans polled felt we were putting 25 cents of every dollar into foreign aid, which is totally wrong. It's under one penny,
Yes,
or $1. I'm sorry, $1 of every $100 goes to all foreign aid. That includes the UN, everybody. And do you feel that Americans are left in the dark because our media are so bad and can't inform people? Our educational system is so distraught that they don't know how to teach properly or share the right information.
I think in a large extent it is that American public in general doesn't know what our foreign aid program cost. They think that we should take care of the poor people at home before we take care of the poor people abroad. But it's a complicated issue. But the poverty here is not like the poverty abroad. When you
Mhm.
miss a meal here, you probably live to the next one. When you miss a meal there, you won't live.
Mhm. But Mark, when we're building friends overseas, we are taking care of ourselves, are we not? You talked about the farmers. The farmers in Kansas and Kentucky depend upon selling their products to a lot of these people in these developing countries, and we've cut off their markets. Now we're going to have to pay subsidies, which is what happened under the first Trump administration. I forget what it was. I want to say $32
Well,
billion a year just to prop up the farmers for the markets they lost. In foreign assistance can be beneficial to everybody. It's not either or. You do both and you both win, is it not?
I calculate roughly that the farmers in the U.S. lost $2 billion this year for crops they already planted and planned to ship them overseas. And they were shipped on U.S. bottoms, on U.S.
More
ships.
jobs for Americans, right?
Yeah, you know, I don't know how to sum it up, but it's beyond my comprehension. Uh,
Uh-huh.
if they wanted to cut 10 or 20%, just tell us and we would cut that.
Mhm. USAID has cut back. They've cut back on several of their programs
Well,
over
they're
the years
dead.
and,
They're
and become
completely
more
dead.
efficient. They have actually done that, have they not?
Well, they're completely dead. A small number compared to the number they had before has been absorbed into the State Department. But
Hmm.
we'll see how that works, but I don't think it worked good. And
Yeah.
I don't think, I look at my former ambassadors and I don't know what they do without foreign aid,
Mhm.
you
Well, and
know,
also many of
and the
yes, please.
country will not trust us. Those countries overseas,
Mhm.
we're not a reliable partner.
No.
So why would they trust us again? And if you want to join the State Department or USAID, there's no trust there either.
Mhm.
Why join an organization that's on the chopping block are going to be downsized? Uh, you know, we lose in so many ways.
Oh, we do. And that's one of the reasons that our popularity polls are in the 20s.
Yeah,
A large number, the vast majority of countries around the world say the United States is not reliable. It's not a reliable partner. Look how they've messed around in Ukraine and have wound up supporting Putin to a large degree. They eliminated arbitrarily their aid programs. There's very little confidence. It's not so much that foreigners dislike Americans, it's they dislike the American government and what it's doing and how it's creating shipwrecks all around the world. But that's true. Well, we're going to come back and talk about that.
I'm ashamed to just add on to that. I'm ashamed to be American
You're
overseas.
not, there are a lot, whole show a lot. Well, I will be back in just a minute. You're watching Global Connections Television, which is a privately funded, independently produced program. The opinions expressed on Global Connections are solely those of the moderator and his guests. We'd invite our viewers to go to our website at www.globalconnectionstelevision.com to view previous programs. Also, if you're involved with the PBS or community access TV station or a television outlet that would like to advertise or air our programs, or you're involved with an educational institution that has an intra-campus television hookup, or you have a podcast, or you just have a computer, you like our shows, please feel free to share them. Global Connections Television is provided at no cost as a public service to help us better understand international issues and how they impact our lives. Today, we're talking about the importance of international assistance, and my guest is an expert on this topic. Mark Wentling is an international development and humanitarian assistance specialist with over 40 years of relevant experience. Mark, it would be safe to say that you are a veteran of the international aid operation in the world. You've been in this most of
I
your life. You're originally from Kansas, but you've lived in many areas of the world. What have you seen that gives you hope, or what have you seen that shows that these assistance programs are worthwhile and are paying off for not only the people, the recipients, but also Americans, the American taxpayer?
well, I've seen it at all levels. I've
Mhm.
seen at the top official level, people will change their political opinions based on the success of our programs, our humanitarian or development assistance programs. But mostly I've seen it with the recipients of food aid, medical assistance, because they improve their nutrition and their health by our programs. You take a country in Africa like Ethiopia, for instance. There's 600,000, they estimate, who go without food now. And the Lancet magazine, in its recent edition, estimated the next 5 years, there'll probably be 12 to 9 million people die. They're a little sharper than me. They said the richest man in the world, well, Bill Gates said that the richest man in the world have killed millions of people.
Referring to Elon Musk, right? Well,
Yeah,
that's true. The challenge is that it's not like just the United States is the only one providing assistance. When you look at international aid, the ODA, it's the Overseas Development Assistance, it's supposed to be 0.7%. We're not even close to it. The United States isn't even close. But countries like Sweden, Denmark. They're up there on top, and they're doing far more than we are. We're really pikers when it comes to this, but other countries are helping out. The United Nations is helping out. So it's not like we're doing it by ourselves saying we can't carry the whole world. Nobody's saying we should, but we're not, are we?
My time overseas, we always worked in concert with other, what we call them, other donors, because
Mhm.
everybody was contributing. Uh, you know, we usually had the main contribution, but as you said, percentage of our GDP is much less than these other countries like Norway, Sweden, even Finland. Uh, I, you know, it's like we pulled the rug out from under these people and they'll never listen to us again.
Mhm.
And we opened the way for foreign adversaries like China to come in and fill the gap
Mhm.
that we had left. I'm just baffled by the
We
whole situation. It's like my entire past has been erased.
Yeah. We did it 5 years ago when Donald Trump pulled us out of the Iranian nuclear deal and out of the UN World Health Organization. We put China basically in control of WHO, and we're doing it again. We're doing it in a broader way, making China the number one country in the world. And we're doing it, we're surrendering from the front is exactly what we are doing. But there's so many of these issues. And let's talk about reform. You said you had some ideas on AID programs, the
Well, I've
Agency for
always
International Development. What can they do to improve
I've
if they
always
ever
thought
come back?
we should focus on the poorest of the countries, the least development, the least developed countries. At the
Mhm.
bottom of the UN's Human Development Index, there are
Mhm.
about 42 countries there.
Right.
We should focus on them and we should focus on humanitarian aid. The food and health services or education services that people need to get back on their feet. We, that would reform quite a bit the agency. I wrote a paper and I thought was going to be a success. It was when Bill Clinton got elected.
Mhm.
I was at the War College, and this focused on Africa, and I said the development assistance program needs to be reformed, but it didn't have any impact. I always wondered why we focus on the better off countries when we should be encouraging the better off countries to work harder to help the poor
Mhm.
and not divert their own funds for their own needs. You have something called corruption in all these countries, but there's corruptions in every country.
Yeah.
The idea is to try to limit this corruption.
Exactly. You're right. And you're talking about the least developed countries, the LDCs. They are so often countries that are trying to move up. And when they move up, that helps us. I think back, well, just reading about the Korean War from 1950 to 53, Korea was a basket case after the Korean War. And look at South Korea now. It's one of the top 10,
Yeah,
12 countries in the world economically, one of our best partners. We do business with them. We support each other militarily, that type of thing. It doesn't mean they have to be on the bottom, suffering, and dying all their lives.
yeah.
To help
Well,
them helps us, wouldn't you think?
that's it. That's it. And it makes us feel better, I hope. Humanitarian aid is, there's something in the American culture which always wants to help those less favorable, those
Exactly.
people who are in less favorable situations. And uh,
You're absolutely right. Yeah. What would be your parting message for our viewers today around the world as far as international assistance goes, international aid? What should we be thinking about in the future and to try to improve the situation? Because it like I said, if we help them indirectly, we're going to help ourselves.
Well, I'd like to see USAID reinstated under perhaps anew, but all the damage has already been done.
Mhm.
To reinstate it it's an uphill battle,
Mhm.
but you have to do it. You have to you have to say we're back
Mhm. Well,
and we're sorry for going away, but we're back and we hope to do build back better and do better the next time.
uh, we didn't really mean to shoot ourselves in both feet, did we? We just did it by mistake.
Well, you got to
It
throw out the
happened.
baby with the wash water.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
I,
Yes.
I, yeah,
Yeah. Well, it's a tragic situation. It's one that was totally uncalled for, and it didn't achieve any of the goals because in the end, mark my words, I don't know where we'll be 6 months from now or a year, but many of these people who were fired arbitrarily, they're going to get back pay. They're going to get compensated. It's going to cost far more to reinstate these people and to reactivate them in some capacity, maybe in federal government, than it
I
did to eliminate. And the savings were
I
nothing. I
agree.
mean, like pennies, pennies, pennies. That was it. But you can't tell extremists that. They just won't buy it.
Yeah, I agree completely with you. We,
Well,
we have to
you're
have foreign aid and it has to come back and build back better.
and it probably will, right? I see you with your T-shirt. You are a promoter of a variety of, well,
This
one
is
anyway. What's your
this
T-shirt
is
about?
Friends of Niger. Niger is a
But
country north
Niger.
of Nigeria.
Were you in the Peace Corps in
I
Niger?
worked in that country for off and on
Oh,
for 8 years. And
uh-huh.
so I belong to, there's an association, Friends of Niger. So they sent me two T-shirts.
Yeah.
This is one of them. I just happened
Right.
to,
Yeah. Well, there's so many friends of, especially with former Peace Corps volunteers,
yeah,
like
well, I
friends
got
of the
friends in
Dominican
Togo.
Republic. And yes, exactly right. Well, you've had a really outstanding career and a very interesting career. And as we would say in Kentucky, it's a fur piece from Kansas to Niger. And
Well,
you
if
made the
you let me,
quantum leap.
I have a book that's going to be published in a
Oh,
week or two.
what's the title of it?
Born in Kansas, made in Africa. I,
Wonderful.
I lived 50 years in Africa, so it's about
Oh,
my
that's great.
experiences in Africa.
Well, that's great. Well, Mark, you've had, like I said, a very illustrious career, and I want to thank you so much for a very interesting and a very informative program.
Well, thank you for allowing me to voice my concerns.
My pleasure. Always a pleasure. I'm Bill Miller. Thank you for joining us today on Global Connections Television.